Good day everyone, I am Lori Juawino and for today's video, I will be discussing about China's major contribution in early civilization and science and technology. The four great inventions of ancient China are paper, gunpowder, printing, and the compass. These four great inventions greatly promoted the development of China's economy, politics, and culture. When these technologies were introduced to the West through various channels, they substantially revolutionized world civilization. So let's start with the first major contribution of China, which is the paper making. Paper was invented in about the year 105 AD by Kailun, who was an imperial court official of the Han Dynasty. Before the invention of paper, ancient people from all over the world wrote words on many kinds of natural materials such as leaves, animal skins, rocks, and earthen plates. Chinese people used bamboo or wooden strips, tortoise shells, or shoulder blades of an ox to record important events. Books written on bamboo strips were very heavy and took up lots of space. Later, Chinese people invented a kind of paper made of silk, which was much lighter than the strips. The paper was called bu. It was so expensive that it could only be used in the imperial courts or governments. To make a cheaper kind of paper, Kailun used old rugs, fishing nets, hemp waste, mulberry fibers, and other bast fibers to make a new kind of paper. This kind of paper was much lighter and cheaper than what came before, and it was more suitable for writing on with a Chinese brush. The technique of making paper spread to nearby Asian countries such as Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and so on. From the Tang Dynasty to the Ming Dynasty, Chinese paper-making techniques spread all over the world, which made a great contribution to the civilization of the world, alongside movable type printing. Next is the printing techniques. The movable, reusable plate-type printing technique was invented by Bisheng in the Song dynasty after numerous tests. Before the emergence of these printing techniques, manuscripts were all handwritten by scholars, which took lots of time and always included mistakes. Earlier, Chinese people had invented block printing, which employed engraved words on wooden blocks to print with ink on a board or paper. Block printing used lots of wooden boards and became useless after one usage. Errors on the board couldn't be changed either. During the Song dynasty, Bisheng carved individual characters on fine clay pieces, which could be used again after the printing was finished. Bisheng's great innovation gave birth to a revolutionary printing method, so he is called the father of typography. His technique then spread to Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and Europe. Movable clay type printing could be more easily used in the West due to the small number of English letters compared to the number of Chinese characters. This printing technique made a great contribution to Western civilization as many more copies of books were printed much faster, leading to a wider sharing and development of education, knowledge, and communication. Then the gunpowder. Gunpowder was invented by Chinese alchemists during the Tang Dynasty. In medieval China, alchemists were people who tried to make an elixir of immortality as their supreme goal. They inadvertently found that a mixture of sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal could induce an explosion. Gunpowder was originally used for making fireworks to celebrate festivals and important events. Later, it was used as an explosive material for cannons, fire arrows, and other weapons in military use. Gunpowder was in great need as there were frequent wars during the Song and Yuan dynasties and mass production was developed. The technique of making gunpowder spread to Arab countries and then to European countries from the 12th century to the 13th century. Finally, the compass. The history of the compass can be dated back to the Warring State period when Chinese people used a device called sinan to point the direction. After constant improvement, a round compass with a tiny needle made of magnetized steel were invented during the early Song dynasty. One end of the tiny needle points to the south and the other points to the north. The compass was then introduced to the Arab world and Europe during the Northern Song era. Before the invention of the compass, people depended on reading the positions of the sun, moon, and pole stars to tell directions on open water or unfamiliar territory. Traveling was difficult in cloudy or bad weather. After the invention of the round compass, people could easily find a direction when sailing on the vast oceans and traversing new territory, which led to the discovery of the New World as well as the development of sailing ships. The impact of Europe was particularly great. Using the compass, Europeans thrived at long-distance exploration and acquired more technology from around the world and great wealth. The compass enabled Europeans to discover America, dominate trade in Asia, and travel around the world. Other important inventions were created, but these are not listed among the most important four. Most notable of these four will benefit in the development of the economies of the various empires were silk and porcelain. They were valuable trading goods traded along the Silk Road routes, and when the methods for making these products were learned in Europe and the Islamic world, big industries developed in both areas.